إن الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل فقد أمرنا الله تعالى بذلك في كتابه الكريم فقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا ثم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed myself, my wife, with the opportunity to live in Medina Munawwara for 6 years. And this was only 3 years ago when I had graduated from Al-Medina. And it was the final year for me. And it was coming exam time, and I think your exams are coming up soon also. It was in the exam week, and we had the week off before the exams, and it was a Thursday, and the weekend over there is Thursday, Friday. And so I was sleeping in the morning because it's exam week, and my wife came in the house, and she came in with a startle. And when she came in, actually our neighbors, they were from Bulgaria, and I heard crying coming from their apartment. And when my wife came into the apartment, our apartment, she had tears in her eyes. And it's not the kind of crying that you hear in a khutbah or something like that. Or it's not the kind of crying when you lose your money or you find a parking ticket when you come out of class. But it was the kind of crying that when I saw those tears, I knew that her father must have died. And she didn't say it at first, and I even said it. I said, has your father died? And she said, no. And then she said, Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, passed away. And subhanallah, there's not a single family member of mine that I've cried for more than I cried for Sheikh bin Baz. You'll have your own uncle die, and you won't feel the sadness that you felt, or that someone would feel when Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, died. Now that was the weekend, this was Friday. Thursday, and the next day was Friday. Every single masjid in the entire kingdom and around the world gave the khutbah about the death of Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala because of all the lives that he had touched in his life. And so it was a Friday, and the sadness had swept over Al-Medina Munawwara and all around the world. And I went to Masjid Qiblatain. If you've been for Umrah, if you've gone for Hajj, you've passed by, most likely, Masjid Qiblatain. And that's where I used to go for Jum'ah Salah. And there was a very eloquent imam who would lead the prayer, Sheikh Muhammad Ismail. And his khutbahs were so powerful. And actually I learned a lot from his style of giving khutbahs. His khutbahs were so powerful, but he never cried in his khutbah. I'll say that day he cried. That day he cried on a rare occasion. And the first half of the khutbah was about the fadl of the ulama, the virtue of the ulama, and the importance of seeking knowledge, and so on. And then the second half of the khutbah was about Sheikh bin Baz specifically, rahimahullah ta'ala. And when the Sheikh said, the news that the death of, and then before he could say the name or he began saying the name, he started crying at that moment. And I noticed, and this is something that I picked out, that almost every single khatib actually at the Kaaba, whether Masjid Nabawi, the Kaaba, or all these places, when it came to the point where they would give the news of the death of the Shaykh, rahimahullah ta'ala, they would all start crying at that point. In fact, if you listen to Qur'an Al-Kareem, which is the Qur'an station in Saudi Arabia, there's a guy who's the announcer. And very often when they would do fatwa, questions and answers, he was the one asking Sheikh bin Baz the questions. And now on this day, he was the one broadcasting the janazah salah at the Kaaba, Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. And he himself on the radio broke down, and he actually couldn't perform his duty because of his excessive crying on the radio, and he couldn't make the words come out. Why am I saying this? it's a phenomenon in our communities that you have a desire, or our communities have a desire to learn about Islam, to learn about this deen. If we ask the question, who wants to memorize the entire Qur'an, almost everybody will raise their hand. And who wants to learn the Arabic language, almost everybody will raise their hand. Who wants to learn the fiqh of the deen, everybody will raise their hand. But with that raising of the hand, good news will happen. And they'll say, oh, there's an Arabic class coming up. You'll get to fulfill your dream so much. Sorry, brother, I'm a little bit busy, and the hands come down. And there's a Qur'an class. Oh, I have my exams coming up. I can't really do it right now. And the hands fall down and they come down. And so the question is, even though there's this thirst for knowledge and the thirst for learning the deen, why is it that we're not coming forward when it's presented to us? The table is set and the invitation is sent out and nobody comes to it. And so if you want to come, look at these halaqas. Come and you'll see 2 or 3 brothers studying. Come to another halaqah, you'll see 6, 7 brothers studying, 6, 7 sisters and brothers. Whether they're studying here, studying there, but the numbers will be very few in comparison to how large our community is. So inshallah today, I wanted to remind myself and you about the importance of seeking this knowledge in the deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, بعد نعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, قل آمنوا به أو لا تؤمنوا إن الذين أوتوا العلم من قبله إذا يتلى عليهم يخرون للأذقان سجدا ويقولون سبحان ربنا إن كان وعد ربنا لمفعولا ويخرون للأذقان يبكون ويزيدهم خشوعا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and indeed it's a very powerful statement Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the people to believe and have iman, Allah doesn't need them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ آمِنُوا بِهِ أَوْ لَا تُؤْمِنُوا, that believe or don't believe, it doesn't matter. For you, it's all for you. That person who's listening to these verses being recited, all benefit is for them to become Muslims. Many times you'll see, oh, so-and-so actor has become Muslim. And it's as if we're so proud that he became Muslim. No, the proudness is for that person who became Muslim. There's no proudness for the deen that this person became Muslim. It's them that will benefit from their iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ آمِنُوا بِهِ أَوْ لَا تُؤْمِنُوا, believe in it or not, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ, because that there were people that were given the knowledge before, إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ, if it's recited to them, يَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ سُجَّدًا, they fall on their faces in sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in fact, these are sajda verses. That these people, when the verses are recited to them, they prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَقُولُونَ, and this is their statement, this is their feeling when they do sajda. وَيَقُولُونَ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّنَا, and they say, Subhanallah, may glory be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How far is He from imperfection? Subhana Rabbina in kana wa'du Rabbina la maf'ula, that indeed the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be fulfilled. وَيَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ يَبْكُونَ وَيَزِيدُهُمْ خُشُوعًا, that they fall on their faces crying, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases them in khushu'. Dear brothers and sisters, when we say at the end of our classes, does anybody have any questions? And many times the questions are, are these marshmallows haram, or what about the moon sighting issue and our mortgage and so on and so forth. And the questions come like that. But an interesting person would ask a question, he would raise his hand and he'd say, Ya Shaykh, ma hukmu talab al-ilm. He would say, Ya Shaykh, what is the ruling of seeking knowledge of the deen? What is the ruling of seeking the knowledge of the deen? So I'm not going to tell you the answer of the Shaykh, but I'm going to tell you the answer of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in which he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم, that to seek knowledge of the deen is fard on every single Muslim. And let it sink in, that it's fard. No one's giving you the different rulings. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us that it's fard to learn about this deen. Now, is everything as knowledge of the entire deen fard? It's not. Because no one will be able to encompass all of that knowledge